Hello, everyone. How are you all doing today? My name is Karen Mayfield Felton, and I welcome you back to my YouTube channel where I talk about life, the journey, what's happening, what's on my mind, a lot of the lessons that I've learned, and just general information that I think will help us navigate all of the busyness, the craziness, the conundrums, all the things that we stumble and fumble about on. I know a fair bit about stumbling and bumbling. So I just want to thank you all for coming back. I have my iPad in my lap because I wrote down some notes and clearly I can't see them on my phone because I'm using my phone to record this video. So I may look down, but that's okay. I'm still here, still connected to you. I started to commit to recording every day, and today is Sunday and I missed Saturday for a good reason. I went to hang out with some friends of mine, and it was during the time in the evening that I would be recording a video, and so I did a lot of work yesterday for an organization that I'm in and some projects, and so it was very productive. But by the time I got ready to go, I was completely ready for chill mode and was just like, let me just record this 1 second video. So I recorded like a 2 minute explanation, but I was just like, no, I can't show that to the people because it's just not enough. So today I just want to rehash what I talked about yesterday that you won't see and then add some more to it. So let's just talk about it. How I came up with my list of values. One of the things that I mentioned the other day was I put too much on my plate and I get overwhelmed often. And what I do is I now have to take something off of my plate in order to honor the commitment that I made. And so I mentioned briefly about what I use to determine after reflection or often in the moment what I take on and what I take off. And the criteria that I use is pretty much my list of values. Now, how did I come up with that list? Wow, it is a variety of different things. And that's kind of what I want to talk about, because we all have values. We all have things that we put a value proposition on. It's worth something. It's important. It's either something ingrained in us from our family, something we've learned along the way that when we have trusted or have identified value to that thing, it has borne fruit. It's been positive. People have been impacted. The results are great. Or the opposite, you valued something that you really shouldn't have, and then you were in turmoil or it caused too many problems, and you're like, not on the list of values. For some of us, it's our spiritual affiliations. I said in the previous video that I'm a woman of faith, so a lot of my values come from the Bible and Bible teaching and the lessons that my mom and my aunties and my parents and my big sisters have taught me over the years. And somehow I developed a list of what I believe is really important. Now, I'm going to be honest and say that a lot of what is on my list is biblical, and some of the things are commonsensical because they've been tried and true. So when you talk about making decisions and not having regrets from the last video, and the accountability of taking things off the list that you put on your list, and just overall that assessment of what's important and what isn't important, we typically lean on our values. So that's where my list came from. And I trust it because I've got a lot of runtime of experiencing life when my values were superficial. They were things that weren't important, like how many people were going to find me attractive. I valued what people thought about how I looked, or my values were how long I was in a friendship. I'm going back to high school because that was the pinnacle of my immaturity. Actually, that's not true. I was immature when I was in college too, shortly after that. So the things that I valued rode right along with where I was mentally and how mature I was and what I was reading, who I was around. People can also change or impact what you value. So asking yourself the question, if you are either feeling overwhelmed or you have made a commitment and you're trying to figure out, okay, something's kind of lopsided. How do I get it back to right standing? There's that list. So, regardless of whether you have a list or not, I think that it's healthy to actually start to develop one. The next thing that I wanted to talk about as a lesson learned is also trusting what you value. How do you trust it? Why do you trust it? For me, it's through lived experiences, but it's also through my belief system. Some people consider values and what you believe to be synonymous. For me, I believe that your values come from what it is that you do believe. So for me, as a woman of faith, Christian, disciple of Jesus, whatever you want to call, whatever moniker you want to put on it, is that the Bible and Bible teaching tells me how my life is supposed to go. It tells me that to be Christ-like, Christ did these things. The fruit of the Spirit. I'm not preaching to y'all today, but these are attributes, characteristics of the belief system I have that is my standard. And so when I find myself getting caught up with things that are materialistic or majoring in the minor, or when I am feeling opposite of peace, opposite of what the fruit of the Spirit are supposed to bear in me, then that's a trigger that, Karen, what it is that you're valuing doesn't align up with your beliefs and you got to check it. So for me, the decisions that I'm making now on where to spend my time and what I'm doing also play into my beliefs and some of the things that I haven't done on my list of things that I want to accomplish. And so when I look at the time, who am I helping? Are the things that I'm involved in self-serving? Do I touch anyone? Part of living a life of faith is being able to share your faith and be an example. Am I doing that? Are the opportunities, the places that I'm going, the priorities that I set, are they aligned to the values that I have set? And what is the impact of that? And you'll be able to see it real time. And that's actually the third thing on my list. My screen keeps going away, which is fine, is when you have looked at your list, whatever has caused you to look at your value list, whether it's a decision, whether it's a turning point, or whether you see yourself even drifting away from the things that you said were important to you, whatever brings you to that point, learning to make the adjustment. Now, this for me is, I would love to sit here and tell you that I quickly made adjustments. That is actually an attribute of how I am measuring my own personal assessment of how I am measuring my maturity as a woman of faith, is how long it takes me to make the adjustment. When I am out of alignment by either the decisions I make, do I regret the decisions? You know, again, my first video was making good decisions, no regrets. And in order to have no regrets, it typically means that that decision was aligned with my values, aligned with my core beliefs. And it doesn't mean that it's always going to turn out the way that I want it to, but it does mean that, hey, this is what we're doing. This is the information I have at the time. And I'm going to go with that. And I'm going to trust that my values are aligned to my core beliefs. And if new information comes to suggest something different, I have the opportunity to pause. I have the opportunity to depart from the path that I'm on and do a full hard stop and assess. And it sounds like a scientific experiment the way that I just described it, because I have a technical brain, but we do all of these things in an instant. When we're presented with new information, our mind and sometimes our emotions quickly start to do that line up of, oh, is this important to me? Or why am I offended? Did someone step on something that I value? Or are my values so self serving that because it only impacts me, now it's a big issue, but when it impacted that other person, it wasn't that big of a deal? All of these adulting type questions that allow us to build trust. First of all, let me back up. It allows us to even develop a list. So I may be talking to somebody out there that doesn't have a list of values. What do you mean values? I live my life based on what I know at the moment. That may be you. But I'm here to tell you that if you don't have a list of values that you can name, you have them. Just look at the things that you do, the places you go, the people that are in your life, and it'll tell you everything that you value for sure. Um, Once you identify that and you look at what's important, your decisions will follow pretty much according to that list, unless there's new information that you haven't added. And then if you are looking at the decisions and how they're impacting you physically, spiritually, personally, you can make the adjustment. And by making the adjustment, you don't have to do this alone. I have a husband that is my mirror to how I'm feeling, and he knows me pretty well, so he can look at me physically and listen to what I'm saying and how I'm saying it and figure out, something's off. What's going on? What's happened? We have friends in our lives, people we do life with that see you often enough to know when things are off. And if they're curious enough, they'll ask you, hey, what's going on? Things are different. I noticed that now that you've started doing this thing, that you're more tired. That, for me, I'm not in some of the places that I used to be at the same regularity. So my consistency with some things in my life are not exactly where I want them to be. And I am real time, making the adjustment. It is never a one size fits all. So if you are out there thinking, okay, I hear what you're saying. I got my values. I'm going to look at my life and look at my decisions. I'm just going to wait and see if this bears fruit. And by bearing fruit, is it a positive outcome? Is it positive to you and other people? Like if it's causing harm, then clearly you need to make the adjustment. But some of us wait to see what the end is going to be, to see the outcome. And for me, my brain works real fast. And so I'm able to have honest conversations with myself and make sure that I'm able to trust what is on my list of values in this moment, because I look at what my belief system is. I look at my core beliefs. I look at who I am at the depth of my heart. Like, what is it that makes up Karen? And my North Star, as we like to call it in industry and in the working world, what is your North Star? Your core beliefs, and that's where your values will come from. I would love to tell you that even though I say my values are biblically based, that I always follow them. Sometimes they were there and I had some more added to the list that were completely self-serving. It was the information that I had at the time, and it also was the maturity level of me and my mindset at the time. And I'm so happy to say that I'm growing. I don't have it all figured out, but the conversation that we're having around how our decisions are related to our values and our core beliefs and the ability to adjust is really important, because there are people that are depending on your decisions. There are opportunities not just to benefit you, but there are places and people relying on who you are your gifting, who God made you to be. And so when you show up and make those decisions to be in places with your authentic self, just thriving and living based on solid core beliefs that are true to your virtue, you will be at peace. And I know what that's like. I am so thankful that I'm getting closer to being at peace. And I'll admit that as we close out 2025, that there's some adjustments that I need to make. And as we talk some more, I will share with you what those adjustments are. A lot of my topics are going to stem from things that I am learning real time. As you can see, I've got on my fa la 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 la. It's an ugly sweater, but it's actually really cute. I like it. I went to a Christmas party today. So we are at the end of the year. This is December, and so many of us are asking these hard questions. But I wanted to share how I can trust my values. I trust them because they're the root of my core beliefs. I do course correct, and I make the adjustment. I don't make it alone. I have people that do life with me, people that pray for me, people that care about me, strangers. I don't really think that they're strangers. I think God sends strangers to me because there are days where he's just like, you're not going to listen to this, but I'm going to send somebody by that's going to catch your ear and you're going to listen to what they say. That's happened to me a lot more times in my life, but I love it because that is how I know that God is with me, because he sends people. He's like, you're not paying attention. So I've gotta send somebody by. I've gotta have certain things happen in your life to grow you up, to prepare you for where it is that I want you to go. And that to me is the journey of life. It is just living the life towards our North Star, towards, I'm not gonna say purpose, but towards the virtue, towards the work, the stuff, all the things that God wants us to do, because that's what he created us for. So that's the journey I'm on. I hope this was helpful. I will commit to recording a video every day, and I will see you tomorrow for a continuation of our conversation. Have a wonderful Monday. I hope you had a great weekend, and I can't wait to talk again. Bye.